So I'm just starting off. Okay. Give me one more time so that you guys don't miss out on this. Yeah. It is already live. So I'm just opening the LinkedIn part. I see two people right now. Divya Joshi is there. Thank you, Divya, for joining. And let me see how the other people are actually coming up as well. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Venkata, Srinivasa, Rahul. As I see, the people are actually giving me the live responses. 7 people are there. Thank you very much for being a part of it. And I'll just to make sure that the voice over is not, yeah. So I'm just muting myself on this side, and you should be able to hear me really, really well. Okay. Thank you very much. There was some technical error which has actually resulted into this delay, but welcome each and everyone in this LinkedIn live streaming. Okay. And hope each one of you had actually had an opportunity to connect with me in my last LinkedIn live, where I was talking about the mid-career core challenges that we discuss about in detail. Okay, right from the stagnancy to the undervaluation, the underappreciation, the overlooking of the mid-career professionals. That is what we discussed about in the past. Now today I want to speak, and mainly I want to speak about the influence building. There is a reason why I want to speak about the influence building. One of the reason why I realized that this is the topic that has to be created at a different level altogether. Now, there is a lot of myth in the marketplace right now about the influence. Okay, some of you know influencers, obviously, and some of you follow that. Some of you probably feel that your in becoming an influencer is the influence. Now, this is a myth that we need to solve as well. Okay, and hopefully we'll be able to sort out that myth also today in the live streaming. Okay, second aspect of it is we will be also talking about really influences for an individual perspective. So there is a branding, there is an influencing, there is an influencer. There are a lot of things that is there in the marketplace which are being confused because we are in the social media, in the connected world. We get confused with a lot of things like this. Okay, so we'll be sorting out that part as well. The third thing we will be talking about, which are the key factors, or I would say the formula of building the influence today, and that is something which I will be sharing with you as well. Okay, and the fourth thing which will be talk about is how do you as an individual can build the influence. Okay, so that is the whole agenda of this LinkedIn live. In the next 35 to 40 minutes I'll be probably talking about the influence aspect of it, and then we'll be picking up the questions on the LinkedIn live as I see it right now. Okay, I'll have to keep refreshing it on the screen right now, and I'll be also sharing my link in case you want to share, jump directly into the link itself. Okay, so thank you very much for all the people, 12 people who are joining us right now and looking at the stream. Okay, so now let's probably start with the first basic element, which is called the influence. Okay, what is exactly the influence means, and why influence is required in the first place? In the broader term of influence, which you actually look at it, the influence is an ability to influence the thoughts, behavior, and the decision. And this very definition will actually give the differentiation between the branding, influencing, and influencers that you look around. Okay. The influencers use both the branding and the influencing to influence our thoughts, behaviors, and decisions. So, if somebody is talking about the government's policy, they are actually influencing our thoughts towards the government policy. If somebody is talking about good habits, they're actually influencing us about our good behavior that we need to inculcate. If somebody is talking about boycott something, then they are talking about the decisions that we need to make. So, in a nutshell, the influence play a very, very critical role in everything that we do around us. It could be the behavior, it could be the decision, and it could be the thinking that we have. And because we are the connect in the connected world, the influence has taken the center stage in this entire process. And unfortunately, or the fortunate part of the digital world is we are always influenced. How many of you agree with that? Just type in agree in the comment box wherever you are live right now. And when you talk about the influence in that way, you will understand exactly why we need to probably understand the influence much deeper. So let me first differentiate between this branding influencing aspect of it. So branding contributes to the influence. Branding alone is not influence. Okay. So if you want to build your influence, branding can contribute immensely significantly in your influence building process. Okay. Because branding now display or create your perceived value into the market, which will ultimately influence your thoughts, your actions, your decisions, and your behavior. That is why branding is very, very important. And in the today's context, we talk about the mid-career professional rising to the top in our executive leaders club. In that context, personal branding becomes the vital element or an essential element. But that element alone cannot make you an influence. Okay, so that is the one aspect of it. Now comes to the why it is required in the first place. After understanding the influence aspect of it, the influencer is somebody who use influence, branding, and the related things related to the influence to influence your thoughts. So if you are probably respecting certain individual in the, let's say, YouTube, you are respecting the great YouTubers, or in the LinkedIn you are respecting some of the great LinkedIn guys. In Instagram you are following certain influencers. All this is because they have created and they have used the various elements of the influence in order to build that influence in the marketplace. Now, it is a public influence. That means it is subject to the public's perception. Okay. So there used to be a song in the Hindi movie. Okay. ये जो public है वो सब जानती है ये public है, right? And that song was actually written for this influence part of it. And if you realize that this influence will continue to be considered as a critical factor in growing your own personal brand, growing your own growth in your career, in your business, your company's reputation, your reputation in the marketplace, and so on and so forth. Okay. So why is it important? I'll keep my context related to the mid-career and the corporate professionals only who want to grow in their influence. Okay. So why is it important? So let's first understand if it is not there, what happens? Okay. If you want to understand the importance of anything, just understand the lack of that. So you will start realizing the importance of that particular trait or a quality. So if influence is not there, what happens? The first thing which will happen is you will be always undervalued compared to your potential. That is the biggest disadvantage that the corporate professional get once they do not have the influence. The second aspect of it is all about getting stuck and stagnant for long period of time. Without influence, the growth prospects also diminish. That means even though you want to grow, you are deserving it, but somebody needs to be convinced for so long to get probably growth. That is why the stagnancy increases. Okay. The last but not the least, your financial, your career, your business, every growth that you're looking for will always be stagnant. And that is why the building influence becomes so critical into the today's world. Now, which are the three core pillars of the influence that will probably take you there? So I'm just refreshing my LinkedIn live streams. I hope more and more number of people must have joined now. In case you have actually resonated with the thought, please keep bringing your comments in while I'm speaking right now, so that I understand the feedback that you guys are giving me. Okay, I'm trying to put the comment over there and helping you understand if I can probably get more and more understanding from you regarding this influence questions. Okay, so at the end of the session I would love to have the questions that you can actually bring up, and I'll be helping you to answer that in my best capacity. Okay, so three core pillars, that is what we were talking about. Number one core pillar that we talk about in the influence building is called the credibility. Is here credibility. First, let me share with you the three pillars, and then we'll be probably talking about the each and every pillar in detail. So, if you have to probably think about the credibility, what is comes to your mind is exactly what it is not. So, somebody who should trust you, or somebody you feel that you are credible. Okay, that is a common definition of the credibility which has been thrown to us. Okay, in the financial domain, if you want to buy if you want to apply for a loan or not, it is actually checked with your credibility in the market, which is called the CIBIL score in Indian context if you are from India. Okay, similarly in your career, in your corporate, in your organizations, what is the credibility? That is what we will be talking about. The second element we talk about is the reliability aspect. Okay, now that you have built a credibility, you everybody knows that you are what capability you get. Okay, how credible you are, but are you reliable in the process, in the context, in the consistency of performance, in terms of your integrity, in terms of your values, in terms of your drive, and so on and so forth. That's the second element of the reliability. The third element, what we call as a visibility, which is the I would say pain of each and every corporate professionals regardless of their rank. Okay, whether you are a junior or a senior or a super senior, doesn't matter. Everybody is consistently applying that visibility, and some of you are not applying for that visibility. They are always facing the challenge of a career growth or a stagnancy. So the third core pillar is the visibility. Now, before we jump into each and every element of it, let's first understand why it is important for us to understand this all three pillars, and how does this influence help us. Okay, so one of the biggest advantage of the influence is you can lead without title. You are not required to have any official title that is required for you to jump into anything. So let's say you are a junior professional who is actually uh, sitting in a conference room along with the many seniors. Now, if you have a very specific technical knowledge, you can give that technical knowledge in the meeting, and you can still create the influence by virtue of your aspect of it. Now, the second aspect that you need to understand is this. Okay. Second aspect that we want to understand is driving the change. Driving the change. Now you must be wondering that why should I worry about the change anyway? Because I'm not driving any change anywhere. Yeah. Uh, in my opinion, every corporate professional, regardless of their rank today, are driving the change today. Whether it is at their personal level, in their family, whether it is their individual contribution level in their specific organization or a role or a project or a team or a company, okay, or at a senior leadership level, everybody is driving certain changes right now, okay. So when you are driving certain changes, it is important that people should actually get influenced by you. That's why we gave you the basic definition of influence, which is talking about the influence as influencing your thoughts, your decisions, and your behavior. So if you want to drive change, you need to actually influence all three. That is the reason you need to have all the three aspect of it. The third and the most critical part of it, and which is in the context of the this live stream in LinkedIn as well, which is all about career advancement. Now you must be wondering, Rakesh, if I don't have an influence, will I not grow? The answer to that is you will grow. Okay, but are you actually waiting for the growth for the next few years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, based on what you deserve, based on your potential, and so on and so forth? Some of you have lost your hair, some of you have lost your age, some of you have lost your income in that process of waiting for the growth. So, which growth are you looking for, or which growth are you waiting for? The name of the game in the today's world where AI is changing everything around us every passing day, the name of the game is speed. Okay? Name of the game is speed. So if your career advancement happens based on the conventional system that your boss is not moving forward and you cannot move forward, which will take around 5 to 10 years, or you are just waiting for your boss to get retired from the office, and you are waiting for him to either move out or get retired, in either of the cases you are going to lose number of years in the career advancement. Now, are you okay with that? If you are okay, then you don't need any influence. But if you're not okay with it, I believe that it is a high time for you to start building your influence for a very simple reason. Think about it. There are two people in the room. Okay? One person who is with the influence, having that credibility, reliability, and visibility. The second person who is with no influence, who is a very great performer, will do what you say. Okay? Who will you choose? A self initiator who can actually get the things done, go getter, or somebody who needs to be pushed forward every now and then. And this is where most of the people miss out this opportunity, that influence building influence building is not all about just getting stagnant. It is about also the advancing your career on a fast track. That is the reason whenever somebody comes to us in our community of Rises Club and they move into the Executive Leaders Club, we always ask them, this is a fast track. Why fast track? Because we'll be helping you to build your influence faster than what you can build on your own. That is why it is called the fast track. Now let's talk about the three core pillars that we are thinking about. Okay. So which are the three core pillars that we talk about? The number one is the credibility aspect of it. Number two is the reliability. And number three is visibility. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a deep dive into all three pillars, and then we will be concluding the influence building by how you can actually build the influence on a regular basis. Okay. So, in these three core pillars, also, I'll be sharing with you how will you build the credibility, why it is required, what it is exactly, how you can do it, and so on and so forth. Okay. So stay with me. I hope you are keeping tune with me, and more and more number of people when they join. Please make sure that you at least share yes, ho, hi, hello, so that I can understand that you guys are here. Okay. I am not able to see everybody on the screen, of course, but I'm hoping that the LinkedIn Live is actually showing me the number of people right now, which are 12 number of people, but it is not showing how much active you are. So please make sure that you are pretty much active in the process of this live stream. Okay. So let's move forward with the core pillar, that is credibility. So the first aspect, why credibility is required. And I told you, if you want to understand the importance of something, understand the absence of that particular quality or a trait. So if there is no credibility, what will happen? First, there is no respect. So some of you who are having a, let's say, great level of experience, number of years, okay? People generally measure in terms of the number of years. I don't measure in the number of years. Why? Because it's a wrong metric to measure your credibility. Okay? It's how much you get respect that becomes your credibility in the long run. That is the number one part. Number two, lack of recognition. If there is no respect, of course, there is no recognition, which is a consequence of it. Okay. So the question is, do I actually look for the respect and recognition in the corporate? The answer to that is yes. And number three, which is the known factor, which is the lack of career advancement. If people don't consider you credible, obviously your progress will be very slow. So the career advancement will suffer. Okay. So what is exactly that you have to build in the credibility aspect of it? Please understand, regardless of which factor you are building today, credibility, reliability, or visibility, without credibility, everything else falls down. It's a foundation of an influence. The entire influence is built on that very credibility of a person. It means a substance is required in order to probably build that influence. And to give you that example, a very, very simple example, let's say you are with the 12 years of experience and you say, I want to become a CTO or CEO. I would say, great, excellent, wonderful. So help me understand, how will you increase the business of this company by 15% in the next year? And the person will be dumbfounded. Why? Because there is no exposure to the business increase in the company. There is no strategic mindset that has been developed. There has not been any executive thinking that has gone into it. But a person is ambitious, aspirational, which is great. Okay. But it doesn't make you credible in the market to give you the opportunity to be a CEO. The idea alone cannot qualify for you to advance in your career. The idea needs to be executed and it should show the result in order to be credible. That is the reason credibility becomes the foundation of an influence. So, how will you build a credibility? How will you build the credibility in the first place? The first aspect of it is building trust. Somebody who is actually working with you, do they trust you? Do they actually come to you and say, hey, if this is my problem, I think you are the right person to solve that problem? Does it happen with you? That is where you will be understanding whether people actually, including your teammate, your colleague, your bosses, your super bosses, your stakeholders, and so on and so forth, are they actually trusting you in the process? Are they giving you the free hand to decide? Because if you are having an independent decision making in the organization or in your role, it actually is an indication of trust building process. It actually is an indication of a trust building process. But you are being watched all the time, you are being micromanaged. That means the trust is lacking. That's a number one critical element of building the credibility. Number two is building the reputation. The reputation is always built on the results, a track record. Okay. So let's say that a picture is very rosy today. The market is doing well. The stock market is not today. But let's say assume that stock market is doing well and you give the tips to somebody. Hey, I have invested in this and this stock is going to perform really, really well. And it does perform the second day. Great. Second month. Great. And then suddenly something happened and the stock market dives and that stock stop performing. But you didn't inform the person that this stock is now going to go down. Please get out. And this person assumes that your track record is only good for a certain period of time. Your reputation is built over a period of time where your performance is consistently considered as a part of the success story or a part of a track record. Unless and until you do not create a consistent performance and build that track record, ups and downs of the system, ups and downs of the business cycles, and so on and so forth, you're not considered to have the reputation of solving the problem. Okay. Number three, which is built on the authenticity. The authenticity is, I would say, the non negotiable. There are a lot of people in the market today who are influencer. Okay. And we, with all due respect to the influencer, the real life and the real life, if there is a difference between the two, the authenticity is missing. I I'll just repeat for you. If the real life and the real life is having a difference, then the authenticity is missing. If somebody makes a comment and give you the gyan on the podcast, and somebody is making the different comment altogether, there is a huge difference in the authenticity of a person. And that is a reason you need to understand the real and the real life of a person as well, whether they are walking the talk, whether they are giving you the evidence of authenticity, whether they are vulnerable to probably demonstrate their weakness, their failures, they are ready to probably accept and acknowledge their failures as well, or they are just talking about the goody goodies. So authenticity always probably comes as a core pillar of the credibility as well. So these are the three elements which we talk about: trust building, reputation building, authenticity, which will ultimately lead to the credibility. Now, Rakesh, are this enough? I'm assuming that you have got the knowledge, experience, skill, talent, and expertise to prove these three. I'm giving you the element which are missing or which are not being considered in building your credibility while you're working every day and performing every day. So, performance is absolute non negotiable. Performance is not everything. Your reputation is built on the consistent performance that will ultimately build your credibility in the system and the marketplace. That is where you need to understand the credibility. Okay. Let's talk about the second element which we are calling at the second core pillar of the influence building. That is called the reliability. Now, how will you build the reliable and why we need the reliability anyway? The the element which actually creates the credibility, the missing element of that is also affect the reliability. If there is no reliability, there is a lack of trust. That's why I gave you the example of a stock market. A person who is actually giving you a tip of a stock market when it is booming, and when it is diving, nobody is giving you the tip to probably get out of the stock as well. That is called the lack of trust. Okay. Now you will be probably blaming for your misfortune in the stock market, saying that, okay, this person has actually given me the tip, but I lost all my money. But that person has nothing to do with it. You trusted him blindly. Okay. Second, in the absence of the reliability, there will be always conflicts because there is a lack of trust. Lack of trust leads to the conflicts. Why? Now the people will be tussling for the who is right. That is why the conflicts. Number three, and which is the favorite of the corporate, which is the office politics. If there is no reliability of anybody, then there is always an office politics. How many of you are seeing that your boss, your colleagues who are not reliable, and you are seeing that they are doing the office politics on you? So that is one of the reason why there is an office politics existing, because there is a lack of trust, there is a lack of credibility and the reliability both. Now, can the person be credible and not reliable? The possibility? The answer is yes. So let's say person is good reputation, track record, have a great knowledge, performance and everything, but they're not trustworthy. Will they be reliable? Not really. So, can there be a combination of the credible and not reliable? The answer is yes. Okay. Can there be a combination of not credible and reliable as well? The answer is yes. But in that case, the performance is reputation is not built. So there is a reputation damage. Why? Because there is no credibility. That is the reason. Okay. So what is exactly and how is it exactly you build the reliability in the marketplace. When we talk about the reliability, we talk about the trust, we talk about the conflict, we talk about the office politics. In the core of the reliability remains the consistency of everything that you do. In that sense, somebody should be able to probably give you that understanding that the consistency of the performance is there. And in order to get that consistency of the performance, you need to have the connections. The more connections actually tell you that you are credible and reliable on the performance and trust, the more reliability you build. Okay? The more relationship you build in the corporate world, the more networking that you do, and the networking converted into the relationship, that will create more and more reliability into the marketplace. Okay? Now, how will you do that? That is where the things comes down to. The first and foremost, as I mentioned, is building the reliability of performance. Your consistency of the performance is the first litmus test everybody goes through in order to create the reliability. Okay? And that is again non-negotiable, which is a foundational part of it. Second aspect of it, we talk about the conflict and the office politics and everything because of the lack of reliability. It also means the counter to that is you need to build the emotional intelligence. Why? Because emotional intelligence will help you understand where the person is coming from in the conflict or why the person is doing the office politics in the first place, what sort of emotions they are going through because of which the office politics happens. Is it the insecurity? Is it the fear? Is it the greed? Is it the uh, is it the uh, fear of losing out something, and so on and so forth. Your emotional intelligence will help you understand more about the person's relationship with you and their emotions, as well as your emotions towards them as well. Okay. The last but not the least is called the empathy based leadership. Now, we all talk about the servant leadership, empathetic leadership, and everything. But in practice, empathy based leadership starts with listening to a person with the connections to them. That is empathy. You get into the shoes of a person and understand their emotions, where they're coming from, and why they're feeling what they're feeling right now. That is where the empathy based leadership comes into picture. When I say empathy based and the leadership, when you combine both, you become a servant leader or an empathetic leader. Please understand, the empathy at the core of a leadership will always create the super successful leaders in the marketplace. The lack of empathy will always create the titles in the marketplace. Who are you serving? It is your choice. Who are you serving? It is your choice. So most of the people are serving the titles. They're not serving the people. If you start serving the people who are at the core respectable as leaders, you will automatically have more respect for them, and your empathy for them and empathy for you will be very, very high. And that is what you want to have as well. Okay, so empathy based leadership. Now I come to the most important aspect of it. Meanwhile, I just wanted to understand the people who are watching it right now on the live stream. Can I understand, is there any question so far whatever I have shared with you? Is it understandable? Is it going over your head, or what is it exactly? Can I get some feedback in the stream right now? I'll just refresh my stream on the LinkedIn. If I can get some feedback, that would be wonderful to have, because then I'll probably get more understanding whether I'm going on the right track or not. Come on, everyone. Meanwhile, I'll just take a sip of my hot tea, which has become cold now. Yes, I'll just refresh my feed and understand if there are any questions or going well. Is it understandable? Not going well? What is it exactly? Come on, everyone. Those who are live right now, those who feel that it is important for you to understand. Yeah, making sense. Okay, so far. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Sharanappa. Okay, anybody else? Am I missing? Okay, Sugandha. Thank you very much. All right, wonderful. Thank you very much for people who have actually bothered to give the feedback, because it helps me to probably continue with the same enthusiasm for the lack of feedback that I get. Okay, so LinkedIn Live has one thing which I had to probably understand is how do I get the live feedback from you guys. Okay, now coming back to the third core pillar of the influence building, which is the major pillar, and most of us we falter on that, including me when I was in the corporate world for a long period of time. During my own tenure as well, I realized that this is one pillar that I have not worked very consciously on, and this is the pillar which is a make or break pillar in your career as well. It is something which will probably give you the more credibility and reliability in front of the right people, or it will not give you anything at all. So the core pillar we are talking about is called the visibility. Okay, visibility. Now, how does this visibility works, and why does it work like that? Okay, so let's talk about the visibility aspect of it. And as I mentioned, if you want to understand why is it required, just identify the absence of it. So all the people, I always say in my community, there are always three ways you can actually perform. There is a knowing, there is a doing, and there is a showing. Unfortunately, people are really, really great at knowing. That means they can collect the information from everywhere. They can do the certificate, they can do some courses, and so on and so forth, and they know things. That's wonderful. Then there are people who are very good as an executor. So they do the things really, really well. And these people are really probably getting the pat on the back from the people above average rating and so on and so forth. But how come then the people who are not probably good at both of them equally, just like you, but still they are growing faster? And the part of the reason is the third element, which is called the showing. What they know, what they do, they are able to show to the people. So I always say that knowing and doing always give you the living. Showing will actually give you the growth. So if you are just getting your current salary, thanks to your knowing and doing. But showing is what is required for the next level. You cannot probably get to the next level by having only knowing and doing, whether it is your probably positioning in the market in the CV or the LinkedIn, creating the value in the marketplace by creating the valuable post on the LinkedIn, or you probably showing your communication, your opinion, your ideas in your conference room, in the meeting, in your organization. In either of the case, you need to show. That is where the differentiation happens. So, the most successful people in the corporate world are not just good at knowing and doing. In fact, many of the people are not just good at doing as well, but they are very good at showing. And you must have realized that if your colleagues who are not good as you, technically, performance perspective, but if they are getting promotion, that means they are very good at showing. And this is where you need to start learning as well. So, what will happen if you have no visibility? You understand the first aspect is limited growth. Limited growth is equal to stagnancy by default. And there are high chances the people with the poor visibility get into the office politics. That means there is a very, very high chance that you are becoming the victim of the office politics rather than just working around that. So the people with the poor visibility end up becoming the victim of the office politics at many times over. And this is what we have understood over a period of time. Okay. Now let's come to the visibility part of it. How do we actually do that? So first, let's understand what visibility is all about. And many people have a lot of myths around the visibility itself. The visibility for some is probably showing up in the office, showing up in the meeting, talking in the meeting, sometimes shouting in the meeting, sometimes probably shutting down the people in the meeting, or sometimes coming on the LinkedIn live, sometimes coming on the LinkedIn every day and checking their post, and so on and so forth. So visibility has a lot of different definitions for a lot of people. Okay, question is very very simple. What is visibility at the core? Visibility at the core is, and you want to write down for your own sake, visibility at the core is amplifying your strategic presence. That is a core of the visibility. Strategically amplifying your presence. Strategically amplifying your presence. Now, can you just elaborate that and you will understand? Strategically amplifying your presence on the LinkedIn through the continuous posting, by being visible, by updating your profile, strategically amplifying your position by updating your CV to the visual CV and probably including all your keywords which are required for your next position, strategically amplifying your position by being visible in the meetings and voicing your opinion or an idea in the meeting, and probably give the very constructive input to the colleagues or a boss or a super boss. Everything counts, and that is the reason the visibility is very very holistic aspect of it, which is being ignored by the people because they consider visibility is only in the front of the right people or in front of my boss. There is no visibility because your boss keeps giving you the same feedback over here, that okay, you're not visible, but they never teach you how to be visible in that. Correct. So let's come to the strategically amplifying your presence. How will you do that? That is a bigger question. So the first part is, let's talk about the external part, which is outside the organization. As a person, as an individual, how will you build your own visibility in that process? Okay. So the first is all about being active on the professional platform, which many of you who are live right now are with me on the active on the professional platform like the LinkedIn. There are many more platforms which could be available. Your presence need not be just in front of, in terms of your LinkedIn live. It could be in terms of probably commenting with the insight to the people's post. It could be connecting the person. It could be probably commenting on the blogs that they have actually come across. It could be passing on to the great information to your colleague or your network. That could be also being active on the professional platform. Second, attend the industry events or forums. So there are a lot of online events, and now because the world has opened up after the COVID, there are offline events as well. And we all have an opportunity. Sometimes it is paid, sometimes it is free. But do we actually become more conscious and selective about going to those forums and becoming visible in the network of your respective industry domain function forums? Number three is publishing your work often. Each one of us are doing a lot of hard work. Yeah. Each one of us are probably creating something every day. Each one of us are probably solving certain problems. Publish it as much as possible, not in the same context or the same thing that you want to use, your client name and so on and so forth, but just help people understand what you're doing. Okay. Number four, leveraging the media opportunity. Sometimes there are a lot of opportunities available to be live just in this media opportunity. Becoming live with me on the LinkedIn itself is a media opportunity. Did you become live and probably voice your opinion, given your insight, be active and contributing in the comment section? That becomes the leveraging the media opportunity as well. As far as otherwise, if you are getting an opportunity to be probably in front of the camera, please go and do that media opportunity as well. Okay. Number five is the active networking. Why active networking? Because passively everybody feels that I know these people. Okay. Like in Delhi, if somebody is actually caught doing something wrong, then they always come back with the question is, do you know who I know that? Right? मैं किसको जानता हूँ पता है तुम्हें? So you know somebody doesn't mean anything. Why? Because you're not actively networking. Okay. So you have to actively network and keep those contacts alive, connections alive. That is why the active networking. Number six, join some professional organizations. There are Toastmasters, there are Lions Club, Rotary Club. There are many other organizations, BNI clubs, and so on and so forth, where you can contribute. Please make sure that you contribute as and when there is an opportunity for you. Okay, that is an external part of visibility creation. How about the internal part? Because internally also you are counted, your visibility counts, because that's what is giving you the more marks in your appraisal system than the others. That is your differentiating factor. So how will you add that? Number one is a creating value add. Now I'll just take one step further to that, creating value add and documenting that value add both, because just creating the value add doesn't add to anything unless and until you showcase that I have added this value as well, right? So create and showcase both are required for the value addition perspective. The second element is be present and vocal both. Be present and vocal. Most of us we go to the meeting just to browse the mobile or scribble a drawing of your boss on the notepad. Now, none of these are going to help you in your meeting anyway. Okay? You can always caricature about your boss later on, but being present in the meeting is sounding that you understand you are a part of this meeting 100%. Let's say something completely unrelated topic at the unrelated meeting you are called for. Okay, you can always excuse yourself by informing your bosses or a colleague saying that my contribution to this meeting is next to nil. If you want still to be a part of it, let me know how can I contribute. If you can actually bring that perspective out, then there will be a lot of opportunity for you to be present and vocal in the meeting as well. Okay. Number three, build a strategic communication. Please understand, updating your project or updating your progress doesn't make you a communication expert. And this is one of the myths that a lot of mid-career professionals actually carry, that they feel that because I'm replying all the emails, because I'm replying all the WhatsApp exchange, because I'm present in all the meeting, I'm probably looking at the minutes of meeting and so on and so forth, am actually strategically communicating. And let me tell you that it is not true. It is not true. And that is what you need to change. Okay? Strategic communication requires an understanding of a person, understanding of the context and the content both. And that requires a different skill set. Everybody knows the communication, but very few know the strategic communication. And that is the reason the the normal feedback that you will ever get in the corporate world is always about improvement in the communication skill. Okay, whether you are a junior, whether you are a senior, doesn't matter. That is why improvement in the communication becomes the constant feedback for everyone in the corporate world. Okay, number four and the last, build meaningful connections. While being in the organization doesn't mean that you need to finish your work and go home by swiping your card. It is an opportunity for you to build some meaningful connections in the process as well. Whether it is your stakeholder, whether it is your client, whether it is your bosses, your super bosses, are you building some meaningful connections with people? Because meaningful connections are remembered for a longer time than the transactional connections. Let's say you are updating your boss will forget that update and your boss will forget you as well. But meaningful connection is when you have actually talked with your boss about his or her liking and how he is doing in his own role right now, what kind of struggle he is going through, what kind of failure or structure, a strength that he is probably using in his own role. that will be a much more meaningful and deeper connections as well as the conversation compared to you just updating your boss about your project. I hope you are getting it. Okay. Now, if you understand this element, you are actually building your visibility. That means building the internal as well as the external visibility. Now, if I have to actually summarize all these things, okay, and understand the final thoughts about the building the influence in the marketplace, okay, this is how you should be thinking about. First and foremost, deliver the consistent value. Why deliver the consistent value? Because value generation is actually build the trust, it builds the credibility, it builds the reliability, because it is showing the consistent value generation. Okay. Number two, if possible, connect and build those meaningful connections. Meaningful connections. If you have the meaningful connection, let me tell you, you will be actually getting into the coaching and mentoring by default mode if you are having those conversation with the people. So having a mentor and a coach is also a blessing for you when you understand the mentoring and coaching by building those meaningful connections with them. Okay. Number three, develop your expertise. Please understand your current role, your current skill, your current knowledge has an expiry date. Your current experience seems will stop becoming relevant in the market. And that is the reason it is a lifelong learning and a continuous learning, which is what is going to develop your expertise on a consistent basis. Number four, engage with the decision maker. Sometimes we feel ourselves to be very, very small because of our stature, because of our title, because of whatever the way we are doing it right now. Okay. But you need to ask yourself a very, very simple question. When you engage with the decision maker, you get more exposure and understanding of their thought process than what you can never figure out by just thinking on your own, because you are never exposed to this thinking process. So always engage with the decision maker. Okay. Number five, advocate for others. Now, this in the corporate world, you might feel it is a counterintuitive. I would say no. Wherever your interest or your vested interests are not there, you should always advocate others. If somebody is falling and you can help them, you should always advocate the help. And that is the way to build the more connection and more relations in the organization as well as outside the organization. Like we are doing the LinkedIn live, you're not a part of my community or you may be part of my community, but we are sharing it live to everyone what I'm teaching in my community as well, to my executive leaders right now. Why? Because it builds the connections with the people. It helps them to understand that yes, there is a possibility, there is a way, there is a method, there is a structure, there is a strategy to build their influence in the marketplace. That is the reason you must advocate for others as well. And last but not the least, build your communication, effective and strategic communication. Why? There is a communication which is all about telling the things, and there is a communication which is all about listening the thing. These two are being taught in the corporate world. In all your corporate training of the communication, these two are definitely being taught. It is being taught that it is 80% listening, 20% speaking, and so on and so forth. There is a third level of communication which is all about connecting people, and the fourth level of communication is all about relating the people. Now these two are never taught, because you have to learn it on your own, or you learn it through the trial and error, or a trial and hit, right? Now when you learn from the trial and error, you have to pay the price, because every action and every move in the corporate world, it has a consequence. It could be a positive consequence, it could be a negative consequences, but it has a consequences. Okay. So you need to understand how do you actually, in order to avoid these consequences, people remain silent. Now this doesn't solve or doesn't serve the purpose of communication. That is the reason your strategic and effective communication is pretty much required. I hope you understand. Okay, that is all about the influence building in a nutshell. So what we talk about is the influence as a definition, which is all about ability to influence thoughts, behavior, and the decision. Okay. While I'm talking about and summarizing the entire topic right now, can I also request each and everyone, those who are watching the live, raise your questions. If you have a genuine question, I would love to answer your questions if it is related to the topic. If it is not, you can always write to me in the DM. If you are not yet following, please follow me on the LinkedIn. Okay, connect me in person by sending a message to me. And if you're not a part of my community, please be a part of my community by checking the bio and registering for my free webinar as well, so that you can actually learn much more than what I'm sharing you right now in the LinkedIn Live or a short time of period. Okay. Now, let me summarize it while you guys are raising the questions. Number one, we talk about the influence building as a core. What is influence? Which we talk about ability to influence the thoughts, behavior, and decisions. Then we talk about the core pillars of influence building, which is the credibility, reliability, and the visibility aspect of it. We deep dive into all the three, and before that, we understood why influence building is required in the first place. First is the consequences, and the second is the result that you are looking for. The consequences could be of not building the influence is stagnant and stuck career, undervalued, and the limited growth in the career. The results of building the influence could be driving the change, leading without the title, and the career advancement in your respective career. Now we talk about the core pillars of credibility, reliability, and the visibility aspect of it. And each one of them, we talk about why it is important, the absence of it, what would be the consequences, what it is exactly, what is credibility at the core, what is reliability at the core, and what is visibility at the core. The most critical element of this core pillar, while the credibility builds the foundation, visibility is required at the surface level, which is your perceived value creation. Okay. And what is visibility in the nutshell? It is strategically amplifying your presence in the marketplace. When I talk about, which is internal and external organization, both are marketplace. Okay. So visibility is strategically amplifying your presence in the marketplace. Then we talk about the final thoughts. How do we increase your influence? We talk about the 5 or 6 elements which will help you increase your influence in your current career as well. That's about the influence building in a nutshell, a very short time that we have together on a LinkedIn Live. And I hope I was able to give you the justice to this process. The time that you invested, I hope it was useful, it was valuable for you. If yes, please do share your valuable comment, your insight of what you have learned. I always ask my community members to share top 3 learning of the session. Similarly, I would love to ask you, if you're live watching me live on the LinkedIn, please do share top 3 learning of the influence building that you have learned from this session of LinkedIn Live. And I look forward to see questions right now. We already crossed the time of 8 p.m. But if you guys have any questions, I would love to address that question, 1 or 2 questions, before I call it a day. And we'll see you into the next session of LinkedIn Live. So, can I understand if any questions from any one of you who are actually live right now? Any one of you? Can I understand while I'll take a sip of my tea? I'm just refreshing my streams right now. In case any questions whatsoever is available right now, I'll be very happy to answer. There's a live chat in the stream, as well as there is a live stream. Let me see if I have anything on the YouTube. I believe there is nothing on the YouTube. I see there is nothing on the live stream right now, and I'm now hoping for the LinkedIn Live. So any questions whatsoever that you have, let's address that question so that you can actually move forward. Thank you very much, Ashok, Prashant, Shuganda, Sriram, Mangesh Pende, Alina, Siranappa, Murari. Thank you very much for your presence, and I hope I was able to give you some insights into the influence building. Yeah. All right. So if there are no questions, as I see the comment from Sugandha, thank you very much for putting this. Okay. Uh, Let me probably get some of the questions which I've been asked right now. How can one balance being selective in networking while also ensure they don't miss valuable opportunities? That will happen. Thank you very much for asking this question, Sugandha. Please understand anyway, the networking is a selective networking. You don't network with a teenager and say that I'm networking. Okay. So, in the professional context, when we talk about the networking, we are talking about the networking with the people who can either impact our career or influence our career. In either way, you are networking with the people who are going to be helpful in building your own impact and influence in the process or helping you advance in your career growth. So while you are being selective, you will be selective that the people are at least having the impact and influence over your career. That is where you want to be selective. So you will never miss the valuable opportunities because you are selecting the network basis the goal that you have in mind. So the core idea or the answer for you is building that goal for which you want to network in the marketplace in the first place. Okay, that will give you the right network and you do not miss any valuable opportunities as well. Okay, well, I'm bringing the another question from Niaz Ahmed. Both of them are from my community, so thank you very much for joining, Niaz. How to measure the value of strategic communication working? You can see the value of the strategic communication working is in your reputation building, my friend. If your boss realize that you are being a valuable person right now, just because of your communication, people start respecting you and recognizing you being a valuable resource or an asset in your company. It is the right measure. Please understand, communication, if it is not done correctly, it is measured in the value term. But communication, if it is done correctly, it is measured in the perceived value term, which is more subjective in nature. So you want to create the perceived value over a period of time, let's say 3 months, 6 months down the time, you measure how much your perceived value has gone up in the marketplace, whether you are inside organization, outside organization as well. Once you understand this, automatically you'll understand the measurement of your strategic communication as well. Okay, so your reputation is the real measure of it. All right. So anybody else has any questions? Thank you for asking a wonderful question, Nias. So I'm just looking at the comments, refreshing that. Sriram, thank you very much for being part of it. In case anybody has a question, and in the next 2 minutes or so, we'll be closing this live stream on the LinkedIn, and we'll hope that the session probably builds your influence, help you give a lot of insight and tools where you can actually use that and start working towards it. Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. As I see no other questions, okay, thank you very much for being a part of it. I love the conversation and the interaction. So next time I'll start, make sure that I'll be probably here and probably see your questions and your comments live on the LinkedIn itself, and look forward to see you in the session that I conduct in my own community as well. If you're not a part of it, and if you're a part of it, you know where to reach it. Okay, I'll look forward to see you in my Friday session as well. Thank you very much. Take care. God bless, and see you very very soon in another interesting live stream just like this on the LinkedIn and the other platforms very, very soon. Thank you and God bless everyone. Cheers.